So can you tell me your name, your date of birth, and where you were born?
I am Barbara Crosby Garrett, and I was born in Sontag, Mississippi. My birthday is December the 3rd, 33.
What did your parents do for a living?
My father was a farmer, and a very good farmer. My mother was a homemaker and a very good homemaker. And my father owned and operated a school bus. It was a brand new school bus. And he ran the routes in Sontag, and he ran people to town. We'd go on Saturdays to town, and people would hitch a ride and stay all day in town. But the school bus was our only transportation for a good long while.
How was religion a part of your home?
Well, you know, kids ask a lot of questions growing up, but one question we never asked on Friday or Saturday was, are we going to church tomorrow? Because that was an already planned thing. It was already on the calendar, so to speak, and we was ready to go to church on Sunday morning. Saturdays was my job to polish shoes and iron clothes and get everybody ready.
Can you tell me about the house you grew up in?
It was just a little wood frame house. We had no electricity, no running water, no insulation, and we had a fireplace, and it heated most of the house. But in the cold winter, it didn't heat too much because of no insulation, and the windows was cold. But my mother would heat an old iron by the fireplace and wrap it up in something and put it down to my feet and tuck me in on all sides, and it was like I was in a canoe. And on cold nights, sometimes I would wear a cap at night.
Was there ever a time when money was tight when you were growing up?
If it was, I never remembered it. We always had, I thought, everything that we needed. I'm sure there was some times, but my parents never discussed that.
What were some things you did as a family together?
Well, we had jobs that we did a lot of times together, and we would go camping, fishing, swimming. That's where I learned to swim. And there was a Legion hut in the community that a lot of people went to, and they had square dancing and all that, but my dad wouldn't let me go. It was not something he thought that I needed to be involved in.
What foods do you remember from your childhood?
Well, I remember one thing. We canned beef, and that beef was so good in the gravy with biscuits every morning. And I know when I came to high school, they kind of made fun of what I ate because it wasn't at all what they ate, but I thought it was pretty good. Big old piece of beef with gravy and biscuits.
That sounds good. What did your family do on Christmas?
Well, we had Santa Claus, of course, early that morning, and then that afternoon, a little later on, we would go to my grandparents. And the men in the family would go into the woods and cut a huge tree. And my grandparents' house was a high ceiling, and it would touch the ceiling. It was so big, and we could tie the gifts on the limbs. We didn't wrap gifts, we just tied the gifts on the limbs.
What would you like to say about the community that you grew up in?
It was a pretty good community. We had a elementary school, and we had stores, and a lot of the storekeepers was relatives, so I felt pretty safe.
What was going to town like for you growing up?
It was a special thing, a real special thing. And it was good to see things in the stores that you hadn't seen.
And that was Monticello is where you
Yeah,
from?
yeah.
What was school like for you?
Are you talking about elementary school?
You can talk a little bit about elementary.
Elementary school was fine. I had some good teachers, and they taught us Bible verses, and we had recess, and we had plays, and I can remember some of the plays we had and the little dances that we did, and that's what brought some of the family together. Well, let me tell you this. My mother worked in the cafeteria, my aunt taught school, and my daddy drove the school bus. I didn't get away with too much.
What extracurricular activities did you participate in?
4-H Club was a big thing, and I learned how to cook and how to plan meals, and I learned how to sew and do a lot of things that women did back then. And I think that's one of the things that inspired me to major in home economics.
Can you tell me a little bit about your career teaching home economics?
Well, I taught my first year in Simpson County, which was my husband's hometown, and his dad was on the school board. And I taught about 4 or 5 other places in the state, but I taught 1 year out of state, and it was good. I loved teaching home ec, and I think that it's needed now very much.
How did you meet your husband?
Well, after I graduated from high school, I went to Colin, and I met him there. He was a freshman there at Colin.
What was it like raising children? You were in Lawrence County at that time?
Yes, my son was in the 1st grade, kindergarten, and I was teaching in the county, and it was okay. We did a lot of the things that our parents taught us, some of the same things. So it was good then, but I'm not saying it stayed that way very long.
How would you say that Lawrence County has changed?
Oh, it has changed so much. We have the mill, we have the National Guard Armory, the sports complex, and not near as many stores. We have a lot of vacant buildings. So there's been a lot of changes, some good and some not so good.
What do you miss about the past?
I miss my family, and I miss the good things that we valued, our morals and our standards and all, and I miss that. I miss the young people. They don't recognize the older people, and I'm one of those, and sometimes they are not very considerate, especially of someone who's hard of hearing.
What do you like about the present?
Convenience. I like the convenience. Being able to, I don't use the cell phone very much, and I'm not much on the computer. But those things are convenient. And as long as my kids live close by, they can help me with those things.
Do you remember, speaking of technology, the first time you ever interacted with a television set?
Well, I think I was in college. I think I was a freshman in college. And I don't remember that it was very traumatic. It was interesting, but I don't have much memory of that.
So the last question is, what is your best piece of advice that you could tell people who are watching this in a couple months or 20 years from now?
I can tell them that there is a book that has been written that is true from cover to cover, and it will never change. And if they learn to live by that book, their life will be so much better. And one of the chapters in that book, I would say, is James, that gives the good advice to young people how to live a productive life. And they need to learn to read and understand that book.
Thank you so much, Ms. Garrett.
Thank you.